Operation Bodenplatte, or Baseplate, launched on the 1st of January 1945, was an attempt by the Luftwaffe to cripple the Allied Air Force and to gain air superiority during the final stage of the Battle of the Bulge. The operation was planned for the 16th of December 1944, but was delayed repeatedly due to bad weather until New Year's Day. Preparations were to be complete by 27th of November 1944, and the attack was to be carried out on the first day of the offensive. General-Major Dietrich Peltz was to plan the operation. He was not a fighter pilot. His combat record was a dive bomber pilot flying the Junkers Ju-87 Stuka. His experiences in Poland, in France, and during the early campaigns of the Eastern Front had trained him into an outstanding ground attack specialist, making him an ideal candidate for planning Bodenplatte. The plan called for a surprise attack against 16 Allied air bases in Belgium, the Netherlands, and France. The object was to destroy or cripple as many Allied aircrafts, hangars, and airstrips as possible. Every fighter wing currently occupied with air defense along the Western Front was redeployed. The strike formations themselves were mostly single-engine Messerschmitt Bf 109 and focke-wulf FW190 fighters. After 5 years of war and heavy attrition, many of the Luftwaffe's pilots were inexperienced and poorly trained, deficient in marksmanship and flight skills. There was a shortage of experienced instructors, and many of the training units were forced to fly frontline operations in order to bolster the frontline units. Aviation fuel supplies were also at a premium, limiting the duration of the training. The plan called for strict radio silence and secrecy in order to maintain the surprise. Maps were also only half complete, identified only enemy installations, and left out flight path. Most commanders were also refused permission to brief their pilots until moments before takeoff. This created operational confusion. Commanders knew only the bare essentials of the plan. When the operation got underway, many German pilots still did not understand what the operation was about or what exactly was required of them. They were convinced it was just a reconnaissance in force over the front. The result of the raid are difficult to judge given the confusion over loss records. Altogether, 305 Allied aircrafts were destroyed and 190 damaged in the attack. The operation achieved some surprise and tactical success, but was ultimately a failure. A great many Allied aircrafts were destroyed on the ground, but replaced within a week. Allied aircrew casualties were quite small, since the majority of Allied losses were grounded aircraft. The Germans, however, lost many pilots who could not be readily replaced. The operation failed to achieve air superiority, even temporarily, while the German ground forces continued to be exposed to Allied air attack. Bodenplatte was the last large-scale strategic offensive operation mounted by the Luftwaffe during the war.